is cheap, and we all voted yes as
We can make some more formal.
You motion.
Let's be more formal with this.
Yes.
I move that we come out of executive session.
Who wants it? Member Black?
yes.
I mean, Member Hanky? Member Slider?
And for the record, we did not speak.
Legal counsel?
Okay.
I know that was.
For the sake of making sure we're correct, I also move we enter into public session.
Okay.
Second.
We need a roll call on that too, Darren.
Member Black?
Yes.
Member Slider?
Yes.
Member Hanky?
Yes.
Well, thanks for your patience. I certainly appreciate that. It took maybe a few minutes longer than what I had promised or maybe implied. If we can, I'd like to move on to item number double I guess, under the hiring of the park and recreation director. And first off, let me say that we had several interviews with some what we thought were excellent candidates, and each one of them had strengths that we think could contribute well to this merger and the improvement of our parks. But I think that the individual that we're going to recommend here tonight, or I'm going to recommend that we move to offer employment to, is a person that I feel best suits our needs going forward. I think this individual demonstrates the energy, the skills, the drive that we're looking for in our Park and Recreation Department. It's somebody that is a long-standing member, a lifetime member of our community, who's heavily invested in our community. I think he'll do an excellent job in our transition. He's led part of our team to get us to this stage. And he has worked well with, I think, all the stakeholders that are involved in this transition. And I think he shares a common vision that this board has to make Canton Parks and Recreation the best in our state. And I think, along with the Hall of Fame as being a reason for people to come here, I want our parks and recreation to be the reason why people want to stay and live here. And so with that, I make a motion that we offer employment of the Parks and Recreation Director for Kansas City to Derek Gordon for the starting sum of $75,000. That would be effective immediately on his acceptance of this offer. It could be either done tonight, or if you would like some time to think this over, certainly it would be, we would accept, a reasonable period of time, up to a week, I guess, to answer that. Let me just add that Director Gordon has been our Park and Recreation Director for the past 3 years. He's served in that position well. He's made some tremendous strides in moving our parks forward, and I think in that same fashion, he'll move our Parks and Recreation forward as we've so desperately needed in our city. He comes from Mount Union, where he received his undergraduate degree in political science and emphasis in some business and history minors. He has a master's from the state in public administration. As I said, he's led a coalition to get us to this stage. He's very well knowledgeable of what this city needs. As I said, he works well with other community leaders in the city. He's led a successful park master plan, the first in the last 35 years. We've moved to modernize our reservation systems as well as our financial systems and accountabilities here for parks. And I think he'll be able to move forward with that integration with a recreation department into one joint entity. He works well collaborating with Stark Parks and other entities, and I would hope that with this motion that I would receive a second, and then we'll open the floor for discussion.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, and so moved. First off, I would like to ask Mr. Gordon if he's in a position, well, before we do that, we should probably ask for public comments and speak at this station. Councilmember Smith.
I would just like to say that I am really pleased that this is the person that you all brought forth. We have enjoyed working with Derek. Derek has brought so much to the city and to the parks, and that I feel that he will be great in this position. And I am truly, truly happy, and so is the other council members, I'm quite sure. And we appreciate everything that you do, Derek, and everything that you're going to do. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, ma'am. Could you identify yourself? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm Rita Gala, and I live across the street from St. Mark's Church. And I'm not in favor of Derek Gordon, because Derek Gordon wanted to have a park at his church funded by, I guess, Stark County, and that was what the city of Canton. Okay, without telling the neighbors that they were going to put in a park. It was directly across the street from our house. They were going to clear land, which would have caused erosion. We would have had runoff directly across the street from our house into our house. There was no access from Montebello Development to that park. So anybody from that area, and that's a very big neighborhood of children, would have to walk through people's yards to get to this park. There was a pavilion at the park. The church was not going to provide their bathroom service for anybody at that pavilion having picnics. And it was all put through secretly until some neighbors who were neighbors of Councilman Mack gave us a call and said, do you want this park across the street from your house? And the next thing we knew, there's a full diagram of this park in our mailboxes, and then it's on the front page of the repository. We were not informed, we were not asked whether we would want this park. Nobody asked us. And Derek Gordon and Edmund Mack were planning this without any input from the neighbors. And the neighbors, when most of the neighbors, especially the ones directly bordering this so-called improvement, were against it. In fact, across the street from our house, which is a small patch of land, they wanted to put in a walking path. The whole neighborhood is for walking. And they wanted a little walking path on this little hill. And this was the masterminded by Derek Gordon, and that is why I'm against Derek Gordon.
Thank you. Whether I would like to address this, or we can just move on, because I really don't want to get into a lengthy debate, but I will say that as a member of a board at this time, at the time that park discussion took place, There was nothing secretive at all about that process. It was held, all these discussions were held at public board meetings. And in fact, one of the reasons for any park considerations, you need plans to see exactly what it is that people are considering. And this board did take action to make sure that we went out to, I think, St. Mark's and made this presentation and invited the community along, making sure as Edmund Mack reached out to the neighborhood association. So, and at that time, we did have public input. We heard loud and clear, and I think the other members at that time, of the board recognized that this was the Northwest community does not have a lot of parks. We thought that this would be something, along with council member Mack, would be a good idea to consider. When the residents in that area said no, we said no. Okay?
May I just say,
Sure.
there was no, there was no survey done in the neighborhood asking us what we thought ahead of time, before any kind of a plan was made up. There was a detailed plan. And plus, there was no real provision for parking. And the meeting that you're referring to was planned after the groundswell among the neighbors against it. That meeting took place when people found out about this park. And that we found out about the park after it was almost going to be a park. And that's when there was the big meeting at St. Mark's. It was in that order. It was really a plan that was going to be in action. But because we found out that this was going to happen, that's when the big meeting took place. Plus, the big meeting originally was planned on a Jewish holiday and had to be changed. And I don't think there was a lot of thought put into it ahead of time. And even with parking, there wouldn't have been enough parking at the church for people to go to this park. And then the plan was, oh, no one can park on Yale Avenue. Well, we live on Yale. What if we have company? And you're not going to let people park on the street? They're going to get ticketed? It really just didn't make any sense at all.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate the comments, and we certainly understand your position.
And I'd be happy to provide a full timeline of how that project went, as there's some omissions in that, in her comments, but I'll be happy to provide that at a later date if necessary.
That's
I'd call the question.
sorry?
I'd call the question, vote.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, unless there's other that want to speak. Sir?
Andy, I just want to say whether
Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Patrick Burns, former park employee, if Derek accepts the position, more power to you. Derek, glad for you. If he doesn't, whoever, there's 94 years of history in my family between my father and myself with the park department, and I'll help anybody if they need information on one of the parks in any way that I can. And God bless whoever takes it.
Yeah, if there's anything else for the board?
Only from my standpoint, I'd say from all of the candidates that we interviewed, I was very impressed by Mr. Gordon. I've been impressed by his work, and I plan to vote for him for this position because I believe he was the best candidate for the job.
If I could, I agree with most of what Andy said about Derek, and this has been a very difficult week. A lot of hard decisions I made, and it's only Wednesday. The reality is this: we are forming a new department. It's not Parks anymore, it's Parks and Rec. And as hard as this is, because I consider Derek a close friend, and I hope we continue to be that way, but the reality is, I think it's time for a change up on the top. I respect my two colleagues, I respect their decision, and I will give Derek all the support that I can as a commissioner. I won't be looking over his shoulder. But my position is I'm going to vote no for the single fact that a new direction has to be found for this. We cannot go in the same direction Parks and Recs have gone. And it might be a drastic vote here, but it's what I'm signaling is that we went through a campaign to solidify the Parks and Recs funding, and now we have got to produce for the citizens of Canton. And I echo what Andy said. Derek was there, probably talked to him, I bet Derek probably talked to me more than he talked to the other two park commissioners during the campaign. And everything I asked him to do, he did. But once again, as difficult as it is, I think it's time for a new direction, new leadership. And I will say this, not only for Derek's position, and that's only me. I'm only 1/3 of this voting group here. I want to be the first to wish Derek luck, and hope that his vision that he has articulated throughout the last months while I've been on the commission comes true.
Well, before you congratulate him, there's two items of business that have to be taken care of first. First, we have a nomination that he would be the director. That has to be passed, and then secondly, it's conditional, obviously, on his acceptance. So let's take care of the first item. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Black?
Yes.
Member Slyman?
No.
Member Hankey?
Yes.
Okay. That being the case, then I'll put it this way, that you've heard some of the discussion here tonight. You've obviously know what our board expects of a park and recreation director. We know that it's not business as usual, and there has to be a high level of expectation that this board's going to have of that director. And given those facts, I guess we'll wait for you to give us your answer as to whether you accept the position or need to think about it.
I think I'm going to need the evening.
Okay.
As those folks who are married know, I need some counsel from my better half as well. So.
And like I said, Derek, we definitely are, you know the timelines as well as we all do. And we discussed we could offer up to a week, but as soon as you would be able to respond to us, please do so. You can get contact, I assume, with me for that final acceptance. I can notify the board,
Sure.
and then we can start that process going forward. Okay?
I will be in touch with you as soon as I have a decision.
Yeah. There will be, obviously, as a lot of our employees go, but we do want to make sure that, in 6 months, basically the end of this year, there'll be a review of performance along with the salary levels that we'll discuss at the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Next item of business.